Hello, I am Super Orange Cat, and I got some Toonami breaking news. A bit earlier today, we got an announcement that Toonami will be welcoming Death Beats, which is the second season of Gemusetto, onto the block. This might sound familiar to you, the term Gemusetto. That is because, if you recall, back in 2019, the entire first season, known as Gemusetto Machu Picchu, aired on Adult Swim's April Fool's Day, or April Fool's Night, rather. And at the time, I recall it being a somewhat well-received April Fool's prank, albeit one thing I noticed is that how people just kind of tuned off of it within after an hour or so, because it's like, oh, it's just going to be this thing all night. They're like, oh, it was good for the first 15 minutes or so. And here's the thing. I'm going to go out and say this might be the worst pickup that Toonami's ever had. And yeah, and I'm going to put this in the title. I think this is a dumber decision than Genlock. If you look at Genlock, you can at least make an argument like, well, we've had American animation shows kind of like it before on the block, and you can make connections like, I mean, financially it's a smart move because you got it for free from Warner Brothers because they also owned Rooster Teeth. But this one, you can be like, well, it's free too because it's come from Adult Swim. But again, who does this actually serve to? And this is the thing I noticed online, and even more so than when last year Toonami got Genlock on the block. I've seen almost universally this was a loathed decision by the Toonami fan base and by the Adult Swim fan base. I think a lot of people at Adult Swim just didn't want a second season with the show, but not only are we getting it, but we're getting it on Toonami. And it will be airing starting November 7th at 1 in the morning. The exact schedule for that day and there on out, I don't know yet. I've seen some people actually speculate online that since this is coming on November 7th, that means that Toonami's planning another marathon this year for Halloween night. And that's one thing to note. I think if it wasn't for all the delays and stuff this year, that this upcoming Saturday, October 10th, would have been the first episode of Uzumaki. Because I've been saying for the whole time they're going to start on October 10th, just so they can get the finale on Halloween night. Because it seemed like a slam dunk this year. Because Halloween night is Saturday night this year. And again, and a lot of people are like, well, no one's going to be doing anything on Halloween this year. I'm like, oh, trust me, people are going to still do stuff. They're like, oh, but trick or treating's canceled. Like, trust me, people are going to find ways to have fun on Halloween this year. And again, and also, but back to this. Yeah, there is not much to really say. Apparently, it's supposed to be different than Machu Picchu. If you follow the plot, and I use a lot of air quotes there on plot of Machu Picchu, the first season, it was focused around tennis. And okay, I hate when people use the term love letter, like it's a love letter to anime. People said the same shit about Balls Masters, and Balls Masters kind of sucked too. But at least Ball Masters, you can at least follow along with it and be like, and just kind of go along with it, even if you didn't care about all the anime references and stuff they made. Yeah, Gemusetto Machu Picchu, or Gemusetto, I guess now, in general, is just impossible. It's just, you can't get, it's a lot like 12-ounce mouse. You have to be really into it to like it. If you're even the slightest bit not into it, you're gonna hate it. No. I say this as someone who actually kind of likes 12-ounce mouse, but again, and I was like, this is okay for a one-off. And even at the beginning of April Fool's Day this year, they had like a 30-second bit that made it look like, oh, it's gonna be a new season of Gemusetto Machu Picchu airing. But then it cut to the thing with Post Malone, which, by the way, I'm gonna say that was one of the better April Fool's quote unquote pranks in a while. You have most Post Malone screwing around. Post Malone digitally edited into every show that aired that night. And also the fact that it showed like the first episode of the next season of all these different Adult Swim shows for this year. I thought it was a pretty good April Fool's prank this year. But ultimately, I can just go for days looking at all the people who are saying just how much they don't like. Toonami hasn't even put this up on their Facebook page yet, by the way. They know it's going to get down. They know they're going to get ratio for it. And it felt like just kind of like a yes dear type situation of like Adult Swim's like, hey, not that many people really want this. Toonami, we know that you're looking for shows. How about we put this on the block? And the only upside in this for me is that it's going to only last 7 weeks on the block. And it's apparently going to be like 2 11-minute segments. So it's going to try to be like a standard Adult Swim show. But I just don't see how it's going to work out. And the trailer too is like stupid. It's like, It's a show trying to be like comically ominous, like, oh, some really dumb cutesy lines, and they're like, how do I play when it's game over? And something about playing a point too, but Jesus, it's just I am not into this at all. At least with Genlock, I'm like, I'll give it a try. Like I knew going into it, I'm probably not gonna like it, but I was like, Genlock could surprise me. Genlock is at least worth the watch. Yeah, I've seen enough of Gemusetto in the first season to be like, this is a free 30-minute segment off for me. I'm definitely not watching this. Unless I really feel an impulse to, I'm not gonna do like a premiere quick review of this. Like, oh man. At the same time, too, it's just like, is there an audience for the show? Like, no offense if you are like fans of the first season, but like, I'm not into this at all. And like, at the same time, I mean, I've seen people like online, people that I know are like Toonami regulars, straight up say they're not going to watch this, you know. And this is just, I mean, in Toonami, this is coming off of probably the worst rated week in Toonami's history. Albeit there are a lot of ways you can hand wave that. There are a lot of excuses. I saw someone point out in my comment section, like, well, SNL had its season debut. I'm like, well, first off, that's the first time I learned that SNL still exists. I kind of just assumed it got canceled a few years back, but well, I guess it's an institution, so it's got to stay around, you know. And also, like I said, UFC always seems to be able to take away viewers from Toonami. And people are like, "Well, it's the news coverage of the president having the virus," and I'm like, what 18-year-old really binge watch? I feel sorry for whatever 18-year-olds binge watch the news, especially this day and age. Like, which 18-year-old? I want to see an 18-year-old who's like, I want to watch Rachel Maddow. I want to watch Tucker Carlson. And like that. I'm like, dude, that's just stupid. But again, rant over about politics and cable news and stuff. But again, and back to the main focus of the video, which is Gemusetto Season 2 Death Beats. I didn't even mention, it's called Death Beats. I don't know if it's supposed to be reference to Death Note. They don't have like the off-kilter letter, so maybe not. I mean, it probably is. They're probably gonna be like, it's like Death. It's gonna be, if it's a parody of Death Note, I'm gonna be pissed off right now. Like seriously, and that might be the reasons why it's on Toonami. It'll be like, oh, it's a love letter to anime, except for it's about Light Yagami and his hot abs, you know. And again, that's just yikes. I mean, at least with Genlock, and I keep going back to Genlock. At least with Genlock, I'm like, the girl in the green exosuit looks kind of cute. I mean, there's nothing like that here, you know. There's nothing I can point to and be like, I'm interested in it. Maybe if I'm like maybe if I'm really drunk tonight, I'll do a quick review of it and give you my dumbass thoughts about it. But again, that's all I have to say. Are you excited? If you're against me here, like not against me, but if you differ from me and if you're excited for this, please leave your opinions below. I like reading them. I mean, do you want more Toonami news content like this? Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Super Orange Cat, and that is all.